Hello, everyone. How are you today? I hope you are doing well. My name is Jen Gross. I am the Midwest Regional Director for the University of Denver, and I apologize. I have two screens, so I'm making sure that I've got everything up and running here for us today. So welcome. We are so excited that you are joining us today for communications. We have a fantastic program for you. I am going to be behind the scenes. I work in the admissions office. I am the Midwest Regional Director, so I've been with the university for 20 years. I work with students primarily in the Midwest. So I have Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. Today, we have closed captioning that's available for you to utilize if you need it. And also, if you look at your screen, there is a Q&A section that you're able to actually ask questions in. So any questions that you might have about today's program or admissions, you're welcome to go ahead and post those in the actual Q&A area. Then we also have the chat area where we're able to put some links in that you guys can grab to go investigate some things later on or contact your counselors or things along those lines. We're also recording this tonight, and so it will be available. I believe they are looking at like the second week of February to put that up on our YouTube. So if your parents are interested in viewing this and haven't had an opportunity, if you want to go back and check something out, you'll have that opportunity. So if you are here for communications, you're in the right spot. I am going to introduce Dr. Josh Hanan. He is going to tell a little bit about himself and get on with the presentation. And I am going to kind of hide out in the background. I will come back for the Q&A, and then also there again will be some links available for you in the chat area. So Dr. Josh, it's all yours.
All right. Thanks so much, Jen. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Dr. Josh Hanan. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Studies in the Department of Communication Studies, and I'm also a professor there. I teach in the area of rhetoric. I'm especially interested in the topics of social movement rhetoric, political rhetoric, and I did my dissertation on the rhetoric of economics. So I'm really excited to have you all here. And I know some of you have already been accepted into our program, which is fantastic. And I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with any of you outside of this webinar today. So feel free to reach out to me. I know Jen's going to provide my contact info at the end of this presentation. So I've got some slides that I'm going to share about our department. And then after I do that, I'll be happy to answer any general questions you all have. So I'm going to put up those slides now. And let's go ahead and get started. So yeah, my goal of this slideshow is just to give you an introduction to our department and give you kind of a sense of the material we cover as a discipline. And hopefully you'll have a clearer sense of what exactly we do in communication studies by the end of this presentation, as well as possible job prospects. All right, so why study communication studies at DU? Well, I like to think we're one of the best departments at the university. I'm sure most departments feel that way, but I think we're awesome because we offer a broad and integrated approach to the study of communication. We're different than the Department of Media, Film, and Journalism Studies, which takes a very focused approach to communication. They're looking primarily at communication in the context of media and in the context of journalism. They also have a strategic communication program that's focused on advertising. We're here in communication studies interested in a much more general, broad perspective on communication. One of the awesome things about our major is that you improve your communication skills, which make you very marketable. It's very common to hear that communication is the #1 skill employers are looking for. Pretty much all employers need effective, good communicators that can build relationships with different people. And so we teach people how to build those relationships, but we do it in a very broad and general way so that you're not like just focused on any one particular context, but you're becoming a better communicator in all aspects of your life. So our major is going to benefit you in your career prospects. It's also going to benefit you in your social prospects, building relationships with friends, romantic partners, family relationships. All of that improves by studying communication. And we offer a real blend of theory and practice. So we tend to think of communication in a very theoretical and conceptual way, but we're also very concerned with application and learning concrete skills that you can use in everyday situations. So we're really interested in both dimensions, and we teach both of those in our major. We offer opportunities for specialization. Everybody in our major gets a communication studies degree. but you do have the opportunity to kind of hone in on certain areas of communication. There's lots of different areas that we study as scholars of communication. Like I said, I study rhetoric and public communication. We have other people in our department that are experts in interpersonal communication, intercultural, organizational communication, health communication, political communication. So we have specialists in all of these different areas, and we offer classes in all of these different topics. So if you're really passionate about organizational communication, for example, you can take a number of different courses in that area and really specialize. Or let's say you're really fascinated by intercultural communication, which is the study of how people communicate across different cultures and kind of bridge and overcome cultural differences. You could hone in on that. You could hone in on interpersonal, which is looking at communication in close personal relationships, primarily family relationships and romantic relationships. Or you could, go the direction I go, which is the study of rhetoric and public communication, which is really concerned with communication addressed to broad public audiences. I tend to look at presidential rhetoric, congressional rhetoric, social movement rhetoric, which is addressed to a broad population. So you've got lots of different opportunities for specialization in our major, but you also can cover a lot of breadth and not just kind of get pigeonholed in any one particular area, which I think is really beneficial. We've got a really strong department. We've got 11 faculty members in our department currently, so we're one of the bigger departments at DU. We're one of the most popular majors in the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. Our faculty are nationally renowned teachers and researchers in the discipline. Several of our faculty members have received teaching and research awards for their work. Most of our faculty have published in our discipline's flagship journals, the top journals across the nation. And a number of our faculty members participate in grant-funded community research. And yes, some of our faculty do participate in research with undergraduate students. Sometimes when students are moving towards their senior year, they do an independent study with one of the faculty members, and they learn to conduct their own research with a faculty member that even leads to publication. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to now go over some sample courses that you would take in our department when you're doing our major. All the students in our major take 2 introductory courses, practicing communication and theorizing communication. And this sort of complements that theory practice perspective that we offer that I talked about earlier. So practicing communication is really applied. It's focused on how we can communicate to have better personal and public lives. The content and topic of the course varies a little bit depending on the professor teaching it. So like one of our professors centered the course on mindfulness and communication, and really like how can you use communication in a mindful way to achieve more effective communication with others. Other people have taught like on the topic of advocacy, how can you advocate for your ideas and perspectives? Theorizing communication is more of a survey course. It provides an introduction to the field and goes over a variety of the key theories that we use and rely upon as communication scholars. This is a course that I actually teach, so you may have me in that class if you sign up for it, but it kind of gives you an overview of the field and introduces you to a wide range of theories. After you take those 2 courses, you take a bunch of 2000 level elective courses that are in a variety of areas, and you take 2 methods courses. So on this slide, I have the 3 methods courses that we offer, which includes quantitative inquiry and communication, which is more of a mathematical, rigorous approach to studying communicative phenomena, where you're using quantitative methods, statistics, survey research, and you're trying to understand how communication works at the level of broader populations. So you will actually learn how to conduct quantitative communication research and generate knowledge about communication, which can be really useful, especially in the business world, because there's lots of people that want you to have quantitative skills and be able to generate that kind of knowledge about communication. There's also qualitative inquiry and communication, which is learning how to collect interpret, and analyze qualitative data. This is where you're using like interviewing methods and field methods. You're usually working with a smaller group, and then you're generalizing. So you're not making, you're working with a smaller population here and then making some bigger claims, but you're limited in the scope of the group that you're working with. And then finally, there's critical communication inquiry, which is more in the area that I study. And this is where you're learning to analyze communication and rhetoric from a critical perspective and evaluate how the communication is working, often at a subtle, unconscious level. So you might study the rhetoric of Trump, for example, or the rhetoric of Biden, and try to make sense of like how their speeches are creating a vision of an American public and who they're trying to identify with, who they're trying to exclude. And you're often not just looking at like the explicit words of what they're saying, but the broader symbolic meaning that they're trying to convey. So all three of the classes are really valuable, and you pick 2 out of 3 of those for your methods courses. And that sort of sets you up to do your own communication research throughout the duration of the major. Along with the methods courses, you'll take a number of elective 2000 level courses that introduce you to various areas of communication studies. The 2000 level courses tend to focus on breadth rather than depth. So they're, introducing you to a pretty broad area of study, and they're kind of your initial exposure. And then if you really like it, you can go into more depth at the 3000 level. We often offer complementary 3000 courses, like we have advanced organizational communication or advanced gender and communication and culture at the 3000 level. But these 4 classes here are just examples of some of the 2000 level courses that you could take in our major. And then here are some sample 3000 level courses that, like I said, go into more depth. And a lot of them complement the 2000 level classes. Some of them are in different areas as well, like the seminar in free speech. And then all of our majors end their time in our major with a communication capstone. And this is on various topics depending on the professor that's teaching it. But in this course, you do some type of original research, and you reflect on your time in the major and kind of discuss how to prepare for the job market and all of those kind of things. So like an example of a capstone class that was taught recently was called Becoming a YouTube Star. And everybody for that, their final project was to kind of create their own YouTube channel and become a YouTube figure. Other people I've taught it on the topic of cultural studies and had everybody do a research project on how culture influences identity and communication. So there's lots of different topics that the capstone centers on, and we offer it multiple times throughout the year. But typically you take that towards the end of your time in the major. So let's go over some skills students learn. Everybody in the major also takes an applied communication class. That could be a class in public speaking, or a class in argumentation, or a class in political communication, but everybody gets pragmatic skills in addition to understanding the theory of communication. So some of the skills you learn just throughout the major are public speaking. You're going to be doing a decent amount of public speaking in our class. If you really are terrified of communicating, this might not be the best major for you. At the same time, even if you are terrified, this can be a great major to become more comfortable with communication. I'll admit that when I was an undergrad, I was actually very trepidatious about communication, and being a communication major really helped me with that and improved it. You'll learn argumentation skills, persuasion skills. You'll also learn mindful listening. That's one that you might not think you would get from a communication major, but we really emphasize that being a good listener is just as important as being a good, effective communicator. You'll definitely gain critical thinking skills, the ability to lead and work in small groups. You'll learn interviewing skills and the ability to conduct original research. As I mentioned earlier, you learn at least 2 methods in our major. All right, let's talk now about some unique student experiences. So our major offers internships for anybody in the major that wants them, and we really doubled down on our internships recently because we hired a faculty member who is also our internship director. And he really has a wide database of internships that he can provide students with access to. And he's built a course that students can take in relationship to their internship so they can reflect on the skills that they're gaining in the real world practicing internships. I just talked to a student a couple days ago who's doing an internship working for a local media company that consults with other businesses on how to improve their social media profile. So that would be one example of an internship. There are students that work on Capitol Hill and do advocacy work for their internship. So there's lots of different options. And you can either find an internship on your own, working with like the DU Career and Professional Development Center, or you can work with us on finding a relevant internship. But it's really something that we emphasize is gaining those applied skills through internships in communication. We also offer study abroad like all the other majors at DU. So most of our majors do study abroad, and it's quite easy to transfer classes that you take abroad to the major. So you don't have to stress too much about that as long as you just kind of work with DU on going to a university that's already pre-approved and accredited. Most of the communication classes at those universities do transfer over. And I'm the one that approves the courses. So you can always reach out to me in advance if you have any questions about that. We have a Lambda Pi Eta chapter, which is the Student Honor Society for Communication Studies. And so if you're somebody who's really ambitious and you want a resume booster, you can join the Lambda Pi Eta club, and you can do community engaged work. They kind of do like a fundraising activity every year. They meet regularly to talk about communication and how it's impacting them and their lives. So you can do that, and then that can be a resume booster as well because it shows you are part of an honor society. We also run the debate team out of our department. We have a really successful debate team that's won a number of championships in the past. And we just hired a new debate director a couple years ago who's doing a fantastic job growing the program and building it up further. So if any of you have any background in debate and would like to pursue that further, doing it through our debate team is a great way to pursue that. And I mentioned earlier that some of our students do research with faculty. So that's another option. And then you do have the option to do an honors thesis. You can graduate with distinction. If you have over a 3.5 GPA and you do an honors thesis, you can get a distinction, which is also a resume booster and helps you stand out. And of course, you can do a capstone project. Everybody has to do some capstone project or an internship as they conclude their program, because you actually have the option of the internship or the capstone, or you can do both. It depends on what you want to do. There's a lot of additional possibilities. So if you're undecided about communication in another major, keep in mind that you can double major at DU. One of the things I love about DU and it being on the quarter system is that you can realistically get 2 majors in 4 years and not have to spend any extra time or money at DU. We have lots of students that do that in double major, and we pair well with pretty much any other department at DU because, like I said, with communication studies, you're getting an education in all aspects of your life that's going to improve you as a person in all dimensions. So, I mean, we even have engineering students that double major in communication studies because they just want to be more effective at their communication and really improve their lives. We have people that double major in business, English, philosophy, psychology, the list goes on, media, film, and journalism studies, so keep that in mind as well. And we have lots of postgraduate options. So, almost anybody that gets a degree in our major has the possibility to get a good job. Some of the careers students have gotten in the past include human resources, management, marketing, sales, advertising, public relations, public advocacy, public policy. Some of our students go into education. A number of our students work with communication consulting firms. This can be very lucrative where you actually consult with other companies on how to communicate more effectively. You work with those other companies and teach them effective communication for their own businesses. We have a number of students that go into the nonprofit and government sector as well and do activism work, work for non-governmental organizations or political work. You know, the great thing about a communication degree is it's extremely versatile. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, pretty much all employers are looking for good, effective communicators. So it really opens up a lot of doors. And of course, these aren't the only postgraduate options. A number of our students also go on to graduate school. A communication studies undergraduate degree sets you up really well for a law degree, for doing like a master's in international relations or an MBA in business, a master's in public health or education. And several of our students have gone on to pursue masters and PhDs in communication studies. So we have a number of former students that are now also communication professors teaching at various universities, and they've been very successful. So there are lots of opportunities in this major, and it really just opens up a lot of doors for you. It gives you a lot of flexibility, and it's a fun major where you learn just a wide variety of things. So finally, you know, I just want to say that no matter what major you choose, you're going to have a fantastic time at DU. It's a wonderful university. I've been here for 12 years now. And I'm just super impressed with the direction the university has gone in. They keep growing. They now have a mountain campus. They've built a new student center. It's a beautiful campus. There's a huge DU network, so lots of regional, national, and international connections that you can make just right coming out of DU. It's really a university geared toward the 21st century. They really understand where higher education is at. And there's a big focus on technology. Like even in our major, we just hired somebody who specializes in the rhetoric of digital communication and, you know, is really interested in like communication on various social media sites like Twitter, Reddit, Facebook. So the university in general is really thinking about kind of where society is at in the 21st century. We have small teacher-student ratios. Our 3,000 level courses are capped at 20 students max. Our 2,000 level classes are capped at 30 students max. And a lot of times the classes don't even hit their limit. So, you know, you get to work more closely with the faculty members versus a school like CU Boulder, where you've got these like public lectures that are often by graduate students and they're like delivered to 500 students and there's a professor and like 4 TAs. So we don't really have that kind of thing, especially in our department. And DU really emphasizes that small teacher-student interaction. We're located in a fantastic city. I don't think I need to convince you of that. And there's wonderful outdoor opportunities, which I'm sure you're already aware of. So that concludes my presentation. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you all listening to this information, and I would be happy to take any questions you have now. So I'm going to exit out of my slides and let Jen read me any questions that you have. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Josh. That was amazing. I always love listening to these sessions because I always learn something new as well. And you started to touch on it in a couple of slides, but I think we've got a student who wants to know, is social media covered at all? And so you just touched on it. I don't know if you could expand on it a little bit further, but she also asked, what about graphic design, or do those fall under other majors? And I think you made such a great point that they're able to complement each other and super easy to do multiples at DU.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking that. So yeah, definitely social media. We absolutely focus on that. It comes up in various courses. We even have like specific courses that are focused on digital communication. Like I've taught a class in the past called Communication in the Information Society, which is all about digital communication. One of our newest faculty members, who I mentioned a minute ago, specializes in digital rhetoric and teaches courses on like digital argumentation, digital rhetoric. And so it definitely comes up in quite a few of our classes. Yeah. The graphic design, not as much. I would say that would be something you would probably get more in the media, film, and journalism studies department or emergent digital practices. So we don't really teach, but we do definitely teach you how to create like good PowerPoint presentations and that kind of stuff. Um, so that would be my answer to that. But certainly we're very interested in like digital communication because so much of communication these days is happening in those kind of contexts.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to remind everybody, if you do want to ask a question, you can go ahead and click on that Q&A box and type it in. We have a few more minutes left. I love that the students get the opportunity to study abroad. I think that that's a fantastic opportunity to see something and get a different perspective and bring it back. Do you have anything that you've been excited about as far as research that the students are working on right now, or that the faculty are working with the students on?
Well, I know a few years ago, I directed a honors thesis on the rhetoric of Muhammad Yunus. Muhammad Yunus is like a microfinance investor, so I was able to kind of draw my background on the rhetoric of economics, and we kind of talked about this problem of microfinance and how it's being communicated as a social movement that's leading to a lot of positive change, but also kind of what are the downsides, what are being concealed by that rhetoric. And the student did a really great job on that project. So that's just like one example that comes to mind for me for my own work. But yeah, there's quite a bit of that going on.
Excellent. Well, I don't see any other questions popping up in the
Does anybody else
Q&A,
have?
but is there anything that you have heard from students recently that they maybe a more popular question that you're getting asked a bit this year? Because I know that sometimes they go in trends with different majors and everything, but I don't know if there's anything specific or anything you'd want students to ask you.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I know a lot of people ask kind of what sort of careers can I get with a communication degree? So I tried to cover that in my presentation. That's one of the key questions that students often have. A lot of our students are interested in how can we create less polarized communication in our society? A lot of that comes up a lot in my classes.
Mhm.
I think a lot of students have a sense that these days communication is very polarized, people are very siloed. And so a lot of students are interested in how we can bridge those gaps and communicate across the aisles. So I mean, communication has never been more important than now, because we really need it to create important, impactful change.
We-
So those are just a couple of things that come to mind for me. And yeah, does anybody else have a?
Yeah, there is another question in here. Can
Oh,
you, can
terrific.
you share a little bit more about what is health communications?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually recently hired another professor who is an expert specifically in health communication. And so they teach a variety of classes on health communication. And, health communication can be a variety of different areas. It can be health communication campaigns. So how do various nonprofits and advocacy groups run campaigns to improve health outcomes, maybe educating the public about the pandemic, COVID-19, for example, or um, different diseases, that kind of thing. You can also focus in health communication on patient-provider relationships. So how does the patient communicate with doctors? A lot of patients complain that they don't have a very positive experience with their doctors when they're communicating about health issues. So some people that study health communication consult with people in the medical field and teach them how to communicate more effectively so that individuals can feel more vulnerable and better address the health issues that they're experiencing. So there's that aspect. You can really just sort of look at a variety of different um, actors and how they all kind of communicate with one another to address health issues. And as long as the topic is health, that's going to be within the realm of health communication.
Very good. Thank you. It looks
Yeah.
like we have no more questions, but we want to thank everybody for taking the time tonight and coming and learning more about communications. I have put Josh's information in, as well as communication information that you can link to for more information later on at your own leisure. Also, reaching out to your admissions counselors. We do have some admitted student open house days coming up in March and April. So those of you that have been admitted, congratulations. And we hope to see you on campus if you're able to join us. As well as, remember, this is being recorded. So if you'd like to go ahead and view it later on, it will be available within the next week, maybe 2 weeks on our YouTube channel. So Josh, do you have any closing statements or anything else you'd like to say before we go?
No, just thank you all for your time. I really appreciate you coming out for this, and I hope to see some of you in our department in the next year. It would be fantastic. And please do feel free to reach out to me at any point if you have any additional questions about our major. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we're going to give you back your, well, actually we took 2 minutes from you, so we apologize, but have a great evening. And again, reach out if you have additional questions. And thank you for listening and coming and joining the University of Denver tonight. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.